Imagine this. In 1 second, every electronic in your home dies. No fridge, no freezer, no phone. An EMP blackout just hit. Your food spoiling by the hour. But what if I told you you already have 9 cheap foods in your kitchen that can outlast it all? EMP attacks aren't sci-fi anymore. They're a real threat. One powerful pulse from the sun or a high altitude blast could wipe out the grid in seconds, and your entire food supply with it. When refrigeration fails, you don't just need food. You need shelf-stable, no-cook, blackout-proof food. And the good news? You don't have to break the bank. In this video, I'll walk you through 9 incredibly cheap foods that most people already have or can stock today for a blackout-ready pantry. We're talking survival food lists for 2025, frugal prepping, long shelf-life pantry hacks, and even a few foods that never expire. Stick around. You'll be shocked by number 6. Let's start with item 1. A food so powerful, it literally lasts forever. Honey. I'm not kidding. Back in 2015, archaeologists in Egypt discovered jars of honey over 3,000 years old, still perfectly preserved. No mold, no rot, just sweet, golden goodness. That's because honey is naturally low in moisture and packed with antibacterial compounds. According to the USDA and National Institutes of Health, its enzymatic activity and high sugar content prevent bacteria from growing. That's why it doesn't spoil even without refrigeration. Now here's the best part. Honey isn't just a treat. It's a survival powerhouse. Just 1 tablespoon has around 64 calories and it's rich in quick energy. In a blackout or emergency when you need fuel fast, that's gold, literally and figuratively, and you don't need to buy fancy jars. Store brand honey still works, still lasts. Just keep it sealed and in a cool, dry place. Even if it crystallizes, warm it gently. It's good as new. So while everything else in your fridge is turning into a science experiment, your honey stays ready. Cheap, natural, long-lasting, and sweet enough to boost morale when things get rough. Honestly, it's one of the smartest blackout foods you can have. Next up, item 2 is something hiding in almost every kitchen drawer. Salt. Plain, old, boring salt, right? Wrong. This stuff is a survival game changer. Let me put it this way. Before refrigeration was even a thing, salt was the #1 way humans preserved food. For thousands of years, Romans paid their soldiers in it. That's actually where the word salary comes from. Salt was so valuable, it was used as currency. And in a blackout, that may not be so far-fetched. Now here's the science. Salt works by pulling moisture out of food and bacteria, which basically stops spoilage in its tracks. According to the USDA and food safety experts, properly salted meat or fish can last weeks or even months without refrigeration if stored correctly. People have been doing it for centuries. And get this, salt never expires. That little tub in your pantry, it'll outlive your fridge, your microwave, maybe even your Wi-Fi. You can use it to cure meat, pickle vegetables, clean wounds, or even barter when supplies run low. Seriously, salt could be more valuable than cash after an EMP hits. It's cheap, it's powerful, and it doesn't need fancy packaging. Just dry storage and a lid. If you're building a blackout-proof pantry, salt isn't optional, it's essential. This tiny mineral has been helping people survive for ages, and it'll help you too when the lights go out. 3. White rice. Let's talk about one of the cheapest, most underrated survival foods in your kitchen, white rice. This simple grain might not look like much, but stored properly, dry, cool, and airtight, it can last up to 30 years. Yep, you heard that right. According to food storage experts like Treehouse Dad and verified by Utah State University Extension, white rice kept in a sealed Mylar bag with oxygen absorbers can outlast most packaged food on the market. Now here's the shocking part. In long-term emergency tests, decades-old white rice was still completely edible. The taste? A little bland. But in a crisis, who cares? You want fuel, and white rice delivers. It's calorie-dense, filling, and dirt cheap. 1 5-pound bag costs less than your coffee run and feeds a family for days. Unlike brown rice, which goes rancid due to its oils, white rice has the shelf life of a cockroach. It just doesn't die. And you don't need electricity to cook it. In a blackout, you can boil it over a camp stove or even on a fire. Bottom line, rice doesn't just survive the blackout, it thrives in it. Add it to your EMP-proof pantry today. 4. Dry pasta and grains. Now, let's talk about the quiet MVPs in your pantry. Dry pasta, lentils, and beans. You probably have a box or two just sitting there waiting for a lazy dinner night. But here's what most people don't realize. When stored properly, these foods can last 20 to 30 years. Yes, decades. According to long-term storage testing by Treehouse Dad and research backed by the Utah State University Extension, airtight storage with low humidity turns these everyday foods into survival gold. And they don't need refrigeration at all. Let's break it down. Dry pasta is basically flour and water. That's it. No moisture means no bacteria. Store it in a sealed container and it'll sit there, quietly waiting to save the day when the grid goes down. Then there's lentils and beans, packed with protein, fiber, and complex carbs. 1 cup of dry beans has around 15 grams of protein and enough calories to keep you full for hours. In a blackout or emergency, that's not just helpful, it's life-saving. Now, here's the wild part. According to the USDA, dry beans stored for over 30 years were still safe to eat. They needed a longer cook time, sure, but they were nutritionally intact. That's survival food with staying power. And remember, none of this requires a freezer, a fridge, or fancy prep. Just a pot, some water, and maybe a little salt, which, hey, we just talked about. So if you're stocking a pantry that can laugh in the face of an EMP blackout, dry pasta and grains deserve a front row seat. They're cheap, versatile, and strong enough to outlast the power grid. 5. Canned vegetables and fruits. All right, picture this. The power's out, your fridge is dead, and every fresh veggie you bought last week, spoiling fast. But then you remember those humble cans sitting in your cupboard, still good, still safe, still feeding you. Canned vegetables and fruits are one of the most overlooked prepping essentials, and yet they're absolute lifesavers when the grid goes down. According to the USDA, most canned goods, especially low-acid foods like corn, green beans, and peas, can last up to 5 years or more if stored properly. Some cans have been tested at over 10 years old and were still edible and nutritious. Even high-acid items like canned tomatoes, peaches, or pineapple usually stay safe for 18 months to 2 years. Here's why they matter in a blackout. Canned produce gives you vitamins, fiber, and hydration without needing refrigeration, cooking, or power. You can pop the lid and eat straight from the can if you have to, and it gets better. Canned foods are heat sterilized, which means bacteria are killed off during processing. That makes them safe and shelf stable even if things get chaotic. Now here's a shocker. During the 2020 pandemic panic buying spree, canned vegetables were among the first 10 items to disappear from grocery store shelves, according to multiple retail analysts. That should tell you something, so don't overlook those cans collecting dust. In a long-term grid-down scenario, they might just be your only source of balanced nutrition. 6. Canned meat, the protein that won't rot. Let's be real for a minute. If a nationwide EMP blackout hit today, the first 24 hours would be confusion. The next 48 hours, chaos. And after 72 hours, things start to get ugly. Fridges are warm, freezers are useless, fresh meat, spoiled. Milk, gone. Grocery stores, stripped bare. The Department of Homeland Security warns that in a long-term power outage, critical supply chains break down within days. That means no resupply, no deliveries, no refrigeration anywhere. And here's where people start to panic, not because they're hungry, but because they realize what's coming. That's why canned meat isn't just smart. It's essential. Tuna, chicken, Spam. It doesn't sound glamorous, but these cans are shelf-stable protein bombs. According to USDA guidelines, most canned meats last 2 to 5 years unopened, sometimes longer if stored properly in a cool, dry place, and you don't need power to cook it. No fridge, no freezer, just a can opener and maybe a fork. In survival scenarios, protein is what keeps your body from breaking down. It repairs muscles, supports your immune system, and keeps your energy up. That's not optional when you're stressed, cold, and trying to stay alert. Now, here's something that might shock you. During the first months of COVID-19, Spam sales hit a 15-year high, and stores in multiple states ran out entirely. Why? People instinctively knew. It's cheap, filling, and lasts forever. And don't let the internet memes fool you. Canned meat can actually taste good, especially when you're hungry and tired. Mix it with rice or pasta, or eat it straight. It's flexible, fast, and it works. You can even barter it. In an emergency, a can of protein becomes real value, something you can trade, share, or guard. So think about this. After 3 days with no power, what's in your fridge is trash. But that little can of tuna in the back of your pantry, that's survival. Canned meat gives you protein without the drama of spoilage. It lasts, it's cheap, and when things fall apart, it keeps you standing. Stock it now before everyone else wakes up. 7. Dried fruits, nuts, and trail mix. Now let's talk about one of the most underrated emergency foods sitting in your cabinet or grocery store aisle. Dried fruits, nuts, and trail mix. They may seem like snack food, but in a blackout, they're survival fuel. Let's start with the basics. Dried fruits like raisins, apricots, apples, and cranberries are loaded with natural sugars, fiber, and antioxidants. They don't need refrigeration, and when sealed properly, they can last up to a year or more. Some, like raisins or dates, can even last longer in airtight containers. Combine that with shelf-stable nuts, almonds, peanuts, walnuts, and you get a powerful mix of healthy fats, protein, and calories. That's exactly what your body needs when the grid goes down. Here's what most people don't think about. During a crisis, your body burns more energy. You're stressed, you're probably doing more physical tasks than normal. Hauling water, gathering supplies, maybe even keeping watch at night. That means your body demands quick access calories, the kind that won't spoil or require cooking. Trail mix delivers exactly that. No stove, no power, no cleanup. Now here's the part that most survival videos don't mention. Fatigue kills more people in disaster zones than you'd think. According to the World Health Organization, during extended outages or natural disasters, people often collapse from exhaustion and malnutrition within days, not weeks. When your energy runs out, so does your ability to defend yourself, think clearly, or care for others. And that's why dried fruits and nuts aren't just snacks, they're strategic food, portable, lightweight, nutrient-dense. A handful of peanuts and raisins can give you 250 to 300 calories in seconds. That's the kind of energy you'll need when there's no breakfast buffet, just blackout and uncertainty. Let's not forget storage. Nuts and dried fruit don't take up much space. You can vacuum seal them in bags, stash them in bug-out bags, backpacks, or glove compartments. No mess, no fridge, just fuel on demand. Now here's something to consider. In the first weeks after a major blackout, the shelves in stores won't just be empty of canned goods and water. Snack foods like trail mix, granola, and nuts will be gone too. Why? Because they're instant energy and don't need prep. During Hurricane Katrina and the Texas grid failure in 2021, snack items were among the first things to sell out, right after bottled water and batteries. Reddit threads and Quora survival discussions are full of stories from people who regretted not stocking small, high-calorie foods. Some even said they'd trade full cans of vegetables for a single protein bar or nut mix after the third day. That's how desperate it gets. You don't want to be that person. Trail mix may not look exciting on your shelf today, but when the power's out, your stomach's growling and your nerves are fried. A handful of dried mango and almonds will feel like gold. You can buy bulk packs for cheap, make your own mix, and rotate your stock every few months. It's easy, it's smart, and when things go south, it'll keep you going. So, yeah, go ahead, call it snack food now. But when your neighbors are running on fumes and you've got trail mix tucked in your bug-out bag, you'll be the one who stays sharp, strong, and ready. 8. Peanut butter. Let's talk about a food that's cheap, calorie-packed, and ridiculously easy to forget until it saves your life. Peanut butter. Yeah, peanut butter. Now, it might sound like a school lunch item, but in a total grid-down scenario, this little jar becomes survival gold. Why? Because peanut butter is one of the rare foods that hits almost every need in a blackout. It's dense, non-perishable, packed with healthy fats, protein, carbs, and most importantly, it doesn't need refrigeration. 1 tablespoon of peanut butter has about 95 calories, 4 grams of protein, and enough fat to keep you full longer than most snacks. A single jar can pack over 2,500 calories. That's a full day's survival ration in your hand. And get this. According to the USDA, unopened peanut butter lasts up to 2 years on the shelf, sometimes longer. Even after opening, it can sit safely in a cool, dark place for several weeks without spoiling. That makes it one of the most reliable emergency foods you can store, especially when space and power are limited. Now here's where it gets real. After an EMP or extended blackout, you won't be sitting down for balanced meals. You'll be grabbing calories on the go or eating in dim candlelight with no working appliances. Peanut butter doesn't just survive those conditions, it thrives in them. No cooking, no heating, just open the lid and eat with a spoon on crackers and oatmeal or on bread if you have it. And if you have kids, peanut butter can be a lifesaver. It's comfort food, it tastes good, it calms nerves both physically and emotionally. In high-stress situations, having something familiar, creamy, and satisfying can go a long way in maintaining morale. Now here's something wild. During the early months of the COVID-19 pandemic, U.S. peanut butter sales surged by over 75%, according to Nielsen retail data. Shelves were wiped clean in major cities. Why? Because people instinctively knew it's cheap, high-calorie, and shelf-stable. All the things you need when the future is uncertain, and it's not just peanut butter. Almond butter, sunflower butter, powdered peanut butter, all of them are excellent alternatives, especially if you're allergic to peanuts or want variety. Some of these options, especially powdered peanut butter, have even longer shelf lives and require no refrigeration whatsoever. Let's also not ignore the barter value. In a long-term grid-down scenario, high-fat, high-calorie foods become tradable assets. A jar of peanut butter could be worth more than a pack of batteries. Think that sounds dramatic? Ask any experienced prepper who's lived through a food shortage. Calories are currency when supplies dry up. And the best part? It's still dirt cheap. You can grab a store brand jar for a couple bucks, stock up, rotate every year or two. Easy. So while everyone's panic buying frozen pizzas and fresh meat that'll rot in a powerless fridge, you've got jars of peanut butter quietly waiting. No noise, no fuss, just steady, shelf-stable nutrition ready to carry you through the storm. In a world where everything stops working, peanut butter just keeps going. 9. Pickled and preserved foods. Old world methods that still beat the blackout. All right, we've made it to the last item, and trust me, it's one of the smartest survival foods you can have, even though most people never think about it. Pickled and preserved foods. We're talking about jars of pickles, jams, preserves, vinegar-infused vegetables, honey-packed fruits, all those things sitting quietly in the back of your pantry or fridge. But here's what most people miss. These aren't just condiments. They're survival tools with roots going back thousands of years. Before refrigeration ever existed, pickling was how people kept food edible through winter, war, and famine. And guess what? Those same methods still work today. No power needed. Let's start with pickled vegetables. When you preserve something in vinegar, you're creating an acidic environment where harmful bacteria simply can't survive. According to the National Center for Home Food Preservation, properly pickled and sealed foods can last 12 to 18 months unopened and sometimes longer, depending on how they're stored. That means cucumbers, beets, squash, onions, carrots, even eggs can be pickled and kept safe outside the fridge for over a year, and then there's fruit preserves like jam or jelly. Thanks to the sugar content and sealed jars, they can also last well over a year unopened and give you a source of quick carbs and comfort when things get rough. If you've ever had a spoonful of jam when the power's out and dinner options are slim, you know what I mean. It's not just food, it's a mental boost. Now let's take it further. Ever heard of fermented foods like sauerkraut or kimchi? These aren't just preserved, they're alive, full of probiotics, salt, and acid, and they're shelf-stable if sealed properly. Some versions, like traditionally fermented sauerkraut, can stay good for 6 months or more, even outside a fridge, but here's where things get seriously impressive. In a grid-down situation, pickling is something you can do at home without electricity. Got some extra veggies that would otherwise spoil? Mix up a salt brine or vinegar solution, toss the vegetables in, seal it in a jar, and boom. You just stopped spoilage and extended your food supply by weeks or even months. That's survival at its best, using simple, time-tested techniques to fight off waste and hunger. And let's not forget the barter value. In a long-term blackout, people crave flavor. Salt, crunch, sweetness. A single jar of homemade pickled carrots or jam could become a trade item, something you offer in exchange for batteries, first aid, or even labor. That's real value, way beyond what it cost you to make. Pickled and preserved foods also have another massive advantage. They're easy to rotate. Unlike freeze-dried foods that sit untouched for years, you can use pickles in your daily meals, replace the jars, and keep your stock fresh without wasting a thing. And here's a final thought. When a disaster strikes and the grid is down for days or weeks, the world feels cold, quiet, and unsettling. Opening a jar of something flavorful, bright, and homemade, that small joy can go a long way toward keeping spirits high and reminding you that you're still in control, even when everything else feels broken. So whether it's store-bought or home-canned, make sure your pantry has a lineup of pickled and preserved foods. They're cheap, long-lasting, and they've literally stood the test of time, from ancient civilizations to modern blackouts. When fresh food fails, the jar comes to the rescue. So let's recap what we just uncovered. When the grid goes down, whether from an EMP, a cyber attack, or just a long-term power outage, your fridge becomes useless. Fresh food rots, frozen food turns to mush, and the grocery store stripped bare in 24 hours. But if you've stocked these 9 cheap shelf-stable foods, you're already miles ahead of most people. Honey lasts forever. Sweet calories that never spoil. Salt preserves food, cleanses wounds, and can even be traded. White rice, 30-year shelf life, endless meals. Dry pasta and grains, long-term energy, protein, and fiber with no fridge needed. Canned vegetables and fruits, vitamins and hydration when fresh is gone. Canned meat, real protein that lasts for years without refrigeration. Dried fruits and nuts, lightweight, high-calorie fuel you can carry anywhere. Peanut butter, the blackout calorie king, no heat, no power, just nutrition. Pickled and preserved foods, old-school preservation that still beats the blackout. These aren't just pantry fillers, they're your line of defense when everything else fails. They're comfort, they're energy, they're survival. So here's your call to action. Stock up, rotate smart, stay ready. And if this video gave you a wake-up call, do 3 things right now. Like the video, drop a comment below, what's one food you'd never want to run out of, and hit subscribe, because next time we're diving into the first 5 things to do when the power goes out. Trust me, you don't want to miss that.